yet?
We're still waiting on a few sort of maybes, so I'd rather not talk about the lineup, and I'd rather keep the goalie quiet right now as well.
You've talked about it can be fun to play spoiler. Do you feel like you guys can still have that maybe mindset going into Madison Square Garden a little bit?
Yeah, I'd like us to focus on us a little bit more. Like I didn't really particularly like a lot of our attack game in Montreal. It's still 1-0 for us after 40 minutes, but I thought we fed their transition quite a bit, and probably or certainly can play with better support and then reading that support. And I think it would have alleviated a lot of some of the non-puck plays we made. But yeah, I'd like us to focus on our execution, and if it ends up helping us win a game that maybe can take a team farther from where they want to be, then great. But I'd rather focus on us at this point.
Where do you see Jacob Peltier's game now that he's getting more minutes and playing on third line?
Well, I think he's much more comfortable. I think with most guys, when you get a couple points, it helps you settle down a little bit and helps you feel like you fit in. And I don't think anybody gets more excited when somebody scores a goal. I showed the clip where Pale scored, and it's almost like a wind sprint for him to get over. And even when he's on the bench, somebody scores. I mean, he is almost as excited as the guy who's put it in the net. So he's got an infectious kind of energy, and he's an easy guy to cheer for. He asks a ton of questions. He wants to get better. So it's nice to see that you can get some of the the offensive output as well. His ability to win the foot race to get that puck from York really gives him the chance to find Paling for that goal. So, that effort is not going unnoticed. And, when they look like they do at times, it's a real easy trio to get out there.
Is it?
Go ahead.
Is that helped? Is that helpful to have a guy like that on the bench who's just so, happy-go-lucky?
Absolutely. I think energy is an issue at this point. You see that E beside your name in the standings, and it can wear on you a little bit mentally, and he has no shortage of it. He has one way to play and one way to be a teammate, and that's what he's offered for us, and there is a value there for sure.
When you look at this team, maybe the last 2 years specifically, 5-on-5, the foundation you have in place 5-on-5, a lot of those underlying numbers suggest that it has been a pretty good 5-on-5 team. Do you agree with that? Do you feel that at least at 5-on-5 there's a decent foundation here? And obviously Danny's going to need to add some more pieces, but do you feel like the foundation is there at 5-on-5 for this team to maybe grow and maybe grow quickly if you add a few pieces?
Yeah, I think especially after my first year or so, 2 years ago, we changed a couple things. As a staff, we talked about how can we not level the playing field, but how can we, create offense with puck movement or with positioning of players. And we started stretching more guys, and we started using that high flipper. Our rush chance metrics last year were ridiculously good. And the other thing you get out of that is you're not defending. You're not in your zone defending, especially. And even if you can clear the zone, for the most part, you deflate a lot of the attack. There are counterattacks that happen quickly as well, but with how we've asked our guys to play, the other team can play exactly how they want to, and you can frustrate the heck out of them by just making a simple play. We haven't used that high flipper maybe as much lately, but there's been things like that. The type of breakouts we've relied on have allowed us to stay predictable. Yes, you're predictable to the other team, but we feel like we limit the one pass attacks. The way we break the puck out, we feel like it takes 2 puck touches to generate offense against us. We feel like that's a huge advantage. And so what would be sort of a mundane adjustment, I think turn into huge advantages for us when we can combine them and when we can execute them on a regular basis. And they're kind of, you against some teams, you sort of feel like you're coaching, not from a position of weakness, but maybe you don't feel like you have the biggest dog in the fight. And my wife's going to be really upset that I talked about dogs fighting, but yeah, I'm going to find a new euphemism or whatever to use there. But
Just don't say skin. There's a different way to skin a cat. That's not.
yeah, I actually used that once. I used it. Yeah, and David Backus was on the team, who's a huge animal activist, and everybody went ooh, and so yeah, I can make a lot of mistakes with words, but I think we were looking for ways to level the playing field through simple solutions, and I thought we did a good job of finding those. As you add more and more pieces, you don't have to coach from that vantage point quite so much, and so where this team's going, 2 years from now, and then 5 years from now, it's not going to look quite the same because we don't quite have to play that way. But to go back to the original question, I do think that the structure is there. There's a that the shot blocking mentality that shows up in that Nashville win. That's hard to instill, and that's fully ingrained here. And you couldn't be more proud of how much a victory means to our guys when they're willing for that kind of sacrifice. So when you have that kind of buy-in and that kind of desperation, you can really frustrate a lot of teams in a lot of situations.
One or two more.
You mentioned about how one of your goals for the rest of the season is to just make it so the guys enjoy playing, despite the fact that you guys aren't necessarily you're not going to make the playoffs. But how do you find that balance between the guys having fun, not being miserable, but also not letting the habits slip as a result of maybe playing too loose?
I'm still working on it. I think it's a day-to-day thing. I think that we score 13 goals the first 2 games. Pucks are bouncing our way. Are we working for them? Absolutely. We're not getting anything for free, I think. But are those expectations realistic to score 6 or 7 a night? Obviously not. But I think that I've asked them for 5 more 2.5-hour business meetings. Let's treat it that way. And outside of the actual meeting, continue to prepare the way you have to, but enjoy yourself. And then for 2.5 hours, can we come together, see how good we can play, and then when the dust settles, we'll see what we've done. So it is really a really fine balance. Really, I think I've done better some days than others actually, and it's apparent. And still looking for that. That real sweet spot. I don't feel we've really found it yet. And with 5 opportunities left, we might not find it before the end of this season. But it's what we're striving for. I think it's worth striving for. So we're going to keep working at it.